Geocachomaniacs.
Welcome to GeoGearHeads episode 235, our Randomize 47 show. And we've got way too much stuff to make it into this episode, so we know we're going to be cutting it off, and yet we still have more for the Patreon show. So make sure to hang in there with us. I'm Daryl W4 with the Bad Cop as usual, but Chris, who do we have with us tonight?
I have no idea. No. Actually, we've got people from all over North America. First, we have Gary Slinkard, or G-Slink, and he's coming to us from a little different location.
I am in Denver, Colorado, home or site of GeoWoodstock 14er.
14er. Like the geocaching app. And in fact, you know who came up with that one? Our next guest, Land Monkey. He comes to us from British Columbia.
I do. Most of the time I do. Unfortunately, I can't be with Gary at Geocaching or 14er, but I hope you're having a great time there.
It's going great. We're having a great time here. I'll show real fast what I'm looking at right now.
Curtains. It's curtains for you, buddy.
Very nice curtains.
So
dresses for the whole family.
There we go. There's mountains out there.
There be mountains.
There be mountains out there. It's looking a little better than it was earlier.
It looks lovely.
It's less visible, though.
Yeah, it's kind of hazy today. I think Denver's kind of killing the area smog-wise, but once you actually get up into the mountains, it's gorgeous. So,
well, it's probably because of hundreds of thousands of geocachers and their cars driving all over the countryside that's produced all that smog.
Probably so. All the people that are here.
Yeah, and all of the geocachers who aren't there right now wish they were there.
Yes, that's true.
How are you dealing with the elevation change, Gary?
I'm good. I've always been really good whenever Slinky Mom and I have been either... Oh, I bumped it. Sorry. I'll be back. Okay. Sorry, bumped my video. Whenever we go places and like Mount Mauna Kea in Hawaii or Kitt Peak in Arizona, some places we've been, we have both been really good about being up in the high elevations. We don't usually get any altitude sickness. Now, we're careful, though. We always drink water, and we always, move a little slower. But
that comes with age.
Yeah, that we move a little slower anyway. Yeah, built-in governor on us now that we're older people. So, but no, it's been great. We're going to go to Pikes Peak on Saturday. Yesterday we went up into the Rocky Mountains. We went to Sunny and Sandy's event, and then we went up. We actually went over the top. We went over into the other side of Rocky Mountain National Park.
Gary, aren't you usually over the top?
I am pretty much always over the top. Okay. But I went over the Continental Divide, took a few pictures there, got great. We saw elk and deer and no bear or anything like that. But if we had it's one of those things. We wish we had a little more time. We probably maybe go back tomorrow. We kind of hoofed back into town last night and made it to the Casa Bonita for that event. And
tell me a little bit about that. Is it as incredible as I've heard?
It's amazing. It really is. It's hard to really describe. I describe it, if you've ever been to Disney World and you go to the Mexico Pavilion, or if you go to the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, either in Disneyland or Disney World, because you walk in and you're sort of queued through. That's like a line. I don't know if that's Canadian. Y'all use queue up there? Okay. So
they have the same alphabet we do.
Do they? Oh, so sorry about that.
Except for the last letter. Keep going.
And so you're kind of herded through these lines, and then you kind of come out, and you're like, it's dark, and there's cliff divers, and there's shows, there's people shooting guns, and lot of food, and it's a little like ponchos. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the ponchos, where you raise the flag and the guy comes by and asks you what you want, and they bring you food, and they just keep bringing you food and bringing you food, and so
this isn't an amusement park. This is a restaurant.
It's kind of both. It's
Okay.
it's kitschy kind of in a good way, but so last night I had dinner with sort of a half of Memphis Mafia, Jesse and his older daughter were there, and then a couple people from Geocaching 14ers committee, and as many as I filled them with sopapillas and enchiladas and stuff, and I tried to get them to talk. They wouldn't tell me where 15 is, so we're just going to all have to wait till Sunday.
Bummer.
And tonight we're going to the Prost Brewery. The lab cache is published tonight, and
Fill them with craft beers and then try to ask them.
Exactly, that's my plan.
Getting it a whole day earlier makes that much difference.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
Because then you can scoop all the other podcasts and blogs.
I know. It's more just a curiosity thing for me. I mean, we'll find out tomorrow or Sunday. So.
See, but you know what's going to happen is if they leak it to you, they'll change it on Sunday.
I
They
think
have a protocol for these things.
There's a lot. Yeah, they were very tight-lipped. They wouldn't give me anything because I don't know. I think it's a big process now. I think there's bidding wars and all that kind of thing goes into it. I was going to say real fast. We went to Mingo, yay! And when I was at Mingo, I met Show Me the Cache. I don't know if you're familiar with. He is one of now 6 original Woodstock members. He was there to help set up Woodstock #1, and we just happened to run into him at Mingo. So talked to him for a little bit. Interesting. He does not own a smartphone. And he showed me his GPS, and sorry, Daryl, I should have made a note of it. He just showed it to me real quick, but he's done over 45,000 caches on his one GPSR. That's all.
Wow, whatever model that is, it's holding up well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, though. You see some of these, like 60 CSX line units. 60s more than CSX, but the 60s just were tanks, and they lasted forever.
It kind of looked like the one you showed. Not the E-Trex. It wasn't an E-Trex.
Yeah, so it's probably the 60 or 60 CSX.
Yeah.
Now,
line.
Gary, if you say it's the same set of batteries, I know this whole thing is bunk.
Okay. Probably, and I'm sure the battery's been swapped out many times.
Okay.
He's done a lot. In fact, he doesn't really even log caches anymore. He just does them. So who knows how many this guy has? I mean,
He's found them all.
He's found a lot, but Show Me the Cache, a fine gentleman, and Cache 22 I think is his wife's name. So,
all right, well we've got a ton of stuff to go through tonight.
Yes, enough of that.
Chris, why don't we jump into the first bit of feedback?
Yes, that comes from Team Mavaju from Google+. He says, correction on GeoGearHeads 234th show, comments by Daryl on Bluetooth transfers. Bluetooth 2 provides 2 megabytes. So a 1,000 waypoint pocket query from geocaching.com is about a megabyte. As such, it wouldn't take hours to upload a large amount of data from your GPS via Bluetooth.
Yeah, so I did dig in a little bit, I should say I need to dig in and run some tests. But when I had done the tests, a year or so ago, it was so much slower, and I was trying to transfer just like a single cache in like an LOC file or something. So there's probably some that's lost in like protocols and interference and stuff. But I just did some rough numbers, and my 1,000 cache pocket query from around my area is 1.32 megs as the zip file. Decompressed as the GPX, it's 6.2. Now, newer units should have the processor to handle the extraction, but to the best of my knowledge, none of them will do the extraction, so you'd have to extract that zip before you upload. But just on that 1.3 with a 10% overhead, that should only take about 5 seconds.
True, but that's you see this on networking all the time. Nothing truly gets maximum speed. You've got overhead of communications and what have you. So
yeah, well, and the interference and everything. So I want to run some tests, and I want to try it on some newer equipment, and something that we'll talk about a little later on. But it's interesting to know what those raw speeds are to get that like theoretical maximum.
Right. Well, and it's always the theoretical, right? According to Wikipedia, it's the transfer rates are for version 1.2, it's 1 megabit per second. Version 2.0 plus EDR, that went up to 3 megabits per second. Version 3 plus HS, big leap up to 24 megabits per second. And version 4, again, still at 24 megabits per second. So, again, you can do the math, but I think you're right, Daryl, that the theoretical transfer rates are always going to be different than your actual, what do we say, your mileage may vary?
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of like miles per gallon. You never can get what they promise.
Unless you're going downhill with a tailwind.
There you go. Perfect.
Well, we mentioned there's something coming up that we're going to have to test, and that is Garmin just today announced their Oregon 700 series. Now, in the press release, they say the units feature high-sensitivity GPS and GLONASS support with a redesigned GPS antenna. The really interesting part comes in the next few sentences of that press release, though. The new 700 series boasts the new active weather feature for up-to-date forecast and animated weather radar, as well as geocaching live for wireless integration with geocaching.com. All of the new Oregon 700 models include more connectivity features like smart notifications and automatic uploads, and will be compatible with the Garmin Connect IQ platform. Now, later in the release, it also says with a Wi-Fi connection or through the Garmin Connect mobile app on compatible smartphone, all of the new Oregon handhelds will have wireless integration with geocaching.com for geocaching live. Users will be able to wirelessly download cache descriptions, logs, and hints even if they're out in the field. Once a geocache is logged as found, it will automatically be uploaded to the user's geocaching.com profile. Premium geocaching.com members will also be able to sync their geocaching list directly to their device. Users can use the live track feature to broadcast their location to families and friends and let them know they'll be first to find a new geocache. So this is probably the stuff that Ben was talking about just last week that he really couldn't say much about. So I'm excited to actually see what that's like. But all the new units have the built-in micro SD card, the slot, not the built-in card. They're a 3-inch sunlight-readable touchscreen, IPX7 water rating, and they're compatible with either AAA batteries or the optional NIM battery packs for up to 16 hours of battery life, using either option.
Daryl, was that AAA or AA?
Oh, sorry, AA. Did I say AAA?
Sorry,
AAA will come out and change your batteries if you have the service.
But
So the 700 model is $400 US list for 1.7 gigs of memory. That's the non-volatile.
Mm-hmm.
For $500, you get the 750, which adds more memory and brings you up to 4 gigabytes. It has an 8-megapixel camera with autofocus, the flashlight, which I assume is just the flash. And I actually ordered one of these to play with and see how it works. So hopefully we'll be in within a couple of weeks. But for the U.S. people who love their topo maps, you can get the 750T for an extra $50, so $550 US. And that includes the 100K U.S. topo maps, which they made a big deal about it. I didn't go back and check what the 650T was doing, but I thought those were 24Ks.
Interesting. I thought they were 24Ks previously as well.
Yeah, so they changed it to 100Ks. I'm not quite sure why.
So would that be a higher resolution map then?
Correct. Unless I'm getting it reversed. I thought the higher the number, the higher the resolution.
Right. Okay. Well, the 750 is now on the birthday wish list for me, and darn it, just missed the cutoff for Father's Day of all things.
It's never too late.
It's never too late.
You can guilt your family into making a Father's Day retro gift.
Well, yeah, I think you and I both had other stuff going on for Father's Day this year, Chris.
Yes,
but,
that's true.
That all said, I love our Etrex 30. It's a great device, but I've been itching for an upgrade, and this feature set to me, it's kind of right for the most part in the sweet spot. Although I have to say, one of the things I'm kind of curious about is this whole discussion about the Wi-Fi, and Daryl, you brought it up before the show, that sometimes when they say Wi-Fi, they don't actually mean Wi-Fi in the way that we're thinking of Wi-Fi. And in addition, the whole idea of wirelessly logging a cache off your GPSR, I'm not sure if I'm a fan. I kind of like bulk logging them through GSAC later, afterwards, because then I can, tailor everything. I love being able to, if I have my notes in there, but I'm not a big fan of instantly logging a cache, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah, we'll have to see what that actually does. My guess is there's going to be an option to post as field note or log live, just a little toggle or something. But yeah, I would definitely not want to log from the keyboard on those devices because they are so bad. But what I'm kind of hoping is you'll have like a queue in the Garmin Connect IQ app or whatever they called that, so that it will show the logs there, the caches that you've logged, and you can go and edit them on the phone and then submit it. That seems like
that wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, that seems like the best of the scenarios for logging.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I looked up the price in Canadian for any of our listeners in Canada, and it is 650 Canadian at GPS City. I'm not sure if they're going to sponsor the show, but they should. This is like everybody else, no availability yet, but they're taking pre-orders.
Go
ahead, Chris.
What if you ordered that through Britain right now? I mean, you pay a little more in shipping, but you may get a really good price.
You might. That's true. Hey, Daryl, did you get any kind of indication on the backlog or the wait time on your pre-order?
Yeah, their estimate, it was July 13th through, I think, the 17th.
So 2 weeks out.
Yeah, it's about 2 weeks, which isn't bad. And that's
not bad.
That was one of the reasons why I did jump up to the 750, because the 650 was already showing like 3 to 4 weeks out. But for the extra, when I actually ordered it, it was only like a $70 or $80 difference. And for that difference, I really wanted the extra built-in memory, because I've had such poor performance from the micro SD cards when I load topo maps.
All right, which one of us has been bad? That's not me.
I think it's G-Slink. I think they're coming for him.
Oh, y'all can hear that? Yeah, it's up. Sorry.
That's all right.
It's wild here in Denver. That's all I can say.
You got like a live episode of Cops being happening right outside your window.
I gotta finish.
You never know what's going to happen at a hotel.
That's for sure.
Daryl, they mentioned geocaching live. Wasn't that the name of the product on the Windows Phone? The Windows Phone service that they just shut down?
It was, but it's also the name of their API. It's the Geocaching Live API.
Okay.
So they've kind of overused the Geocaching Live moniker, I think.
That is a little confusing.
It is.
Okay, well, so much for the Garmins. Let's move on. Actually, no, we're going to stay with the Garmins, but we're going to talk about a use case. Nighthawk 700 shared. This is all I can say is wow. Should we stop there?
Sure.
Okay.
Moving on.
That's all he can say.
He says, I use Garmin Connect IQ with my Forerunner, which is the watch, and there are some really creative developers out there. When they develop a Connect IQ platform, they have a 2-year life cycle before it's sunsetted. My Forerunner is the first on the cycle, so after December, it gets sunsetted. Developers can still develop for it, but new features may not be implementable. I don't know if I knew that word before. Implementable. It was a little surprising to find out when it was announced. People tend to keep their Garmin GPSRs for a long time, so the 2-year life cycle could seem short. Heck, it seems short for my watch, but still, there's widgets, apps, and faces that people designed to show the level of creativity out there, and I'm looking forward to see what they can develop for the Oregon. So that's the same app and the same communication platform that they're using right now for the Forerunner that they're going to be using for the new Oregons.
Yeah, which kind of surprised me. I mean, it does and it doesn't. You know, the Forerunner seems like such a different product that transferring the apps between them certainly can't happen. But the code base, you know, probably isn't that big a difference, so that's why that actually works. So I'm assuming it's going to be kind of like the App Store for Apple, where you have iPhone apps, the iPad apps, and then hybrid apps. But we'll have to see how that works and where it goes.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can't get off of Garmin just yet. Shermanator18 wrote on Google Plus. She says, "I have a eTrex 30X, which has the wireless transfer. Sometimes I really wish there was a way to send files from my phone to the GPS in the field. Does anyone know if that's possible? And yeah, go buy a new Oregon."
Well, we've mentioned this a few times before, but I heard from one local cacher for sure that another had actually done that Bluetooth transfer, and I want to say that was to a 64, which uses the same Bluetooth stuff as the 30X. But I can't find anything to support that, and nobody I've worked with has had any luck with it. So the answer is no, and it would be nice. But we'll have to see how this works out with the Oregon 700, and I'm sure we're going to see the eTrex and the GPS map line updated with that functionality in the future.
Well, now, I was using Garmin Basecamp. I was able to send a single waypoint to the GPS from my phone. So if I wanted to send a whole GPX, you know, I'd have to send them one at a time. Even though you could see them all.
Well, you can send the... You could send the waypoints, but I thought it had to be through their server. You couldn't do it from like a web page or something.
I did it from the phone to the GPS using Bluetooth.
Okay, but where did that waypoint come from? Because that was the thing.
This is too long ago.
If I remember, you had to...
Right, I uploaded to Basecamp.
Right, you had to upload to the Garmin Connect servers, and then you could send it over. So yeah, it's not an easy process and not something that you can do from just the phone.
So, yes, why they say it's there, making it happen is something different.
Right, exactly. And that's why we're so excited about the new GPSRs that we just talked about. Moving on, though, Stephen W54 emailed us that he just attended, that he just attended his first geocaching mega event, Cashin' the Bay. I apologize for my speech tonight. It's just not working. GC5Z4XF, and I'm glad for the advice in GeoGearHeads 168 attending megas. Nice. I probably would have missed out on some activities or been rushed if I had not prepared beforehand. I do not recall if loading and testing Where I Go cartridges was mentioned during the show, but I recommend doing so because this task took quite a bit longer than I expected.
How very true. Well, Stephen, thank you for listening and actually, you know, taking some of our advice. I think we got some pretty good advice on this show. So there you go. We're throwing it out there completely free. But yeah, loading a Where I Go, at least downloading it and loading it into an app or your GPS, do that ahead of time because it does take a lot longer than you think it ought to.
Right on.
So, well, Gary, are you loading Where I Goes right now? Because
I probably should. Because Memphis Mafia has like 100 of them here. But the other thing too is with Where I Goes. I don't know if he's familiar with even doing a Where I Go, but it is once you do one, it becomes much easier. But until you get used to doing a Where I Go, it can be kind of confusing for some people.
Well, and even sometimes if you've done a few, if all of a sudden you do one where it's a whole different idea and the way it's interfaced. So, we've done a number of them that are kind of like a field puzzle in the sense of you have to go to a location, answer questions, move on. And then we did one after we had gotten used to that as, well, this is what a Where I Go is. Somebody was innovative and they made, you guys have probably done these before, but they made an invisible maze.
Oh. That would be nice.
All of a sudden, it's a whole nother ball of wax, right?
Yeah.
Now, very
cool. I've got the information. I want to set up a reverse Where I Go. I don't know if y'all probably all heard about those, but it's where you you hit the button, it says you're so far from the cache, and then you have to go somewhere, and then you have to hit the button again. It tells you if you're any closer. So it's what they call a reverse where I go.
So it's more like where you went rather than where I go. Okay.
Where should I go?
Where should I go? I was just going to say that. That's funny. Well, speaking of where I goes and where you should go, we had an email that came in from Snowy1 that said, I'm a relatively new cacher, 131 finds. Hey, welcome to geocaching, Snowy1. Hope you're having fun. And they said, I have been trying out each type of cache that's available near where I live. Awesome. Way to go. Recently, I've seen a lot of do anywhere where I goes published nearby, but I don't have a compatible GPSR or a smartphone. However, I do have a PC and a Samsung tablet. I've seen some write-ups on using PCs and or tablets for completing where I goes. Do you have any information about how hard or easy they are to do on a PC or tablet? Do you have any tips? Daryl?
Well, I sent the links to Where You Go and Where I Go for Android, and left it there because most of the PC stuff that I had seen isn't very easy to do. So, since you have the tablet, just use the tablet.
There you go.
Exactly. I've used the emulator. It's not pretty, but it does work for the PC.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But Snowy One wrote back afterward and said, I wanted to let you know that I finally got this to work. I used the first link you sent and loaded the Where You Go app on my tablet with no problem. It then took me a bit longer to actually do a Where I Go, as I got the wrong kind of SD card at first. Yeah, that can be a problem. Anyway, I just did the local play anywhere Where I Go, and now I have the final chords in hand. Hope to get to the cache tomorrow. I'm looking forward to doing many more, as one of our local caches recently published a whole series of these.
That's interesting. I've never thought of a play anywhere where I go.
Yeah, there's a few around. So we've talked before, maybe not on this podcast, but definitely on Caching the Northwest, about the Challenge Bear just outside of Kelowna in BC, and the 100th cache in that piece of GeoArt. They're all challenges that challenge caches that make a giant grizzly bear GeoArt, and the 100th cache, it's either the first or the 100th, anyways, is a Where I Go. It's a play anywhere where I go. So you have to do that before you get out there, and you have to go into a big field and find the bear. But it's that kind of idea, and they're kind of fun. It's a different idea. But I think the idea of using a tablet to complete a Where I Go cache is great. The additional screen real estate would certainly be helpful in some cases. And personally, we still, us land monkeys, we execute them pretty much flawlessly from our Samsung Galaxy S3, which is a pretty old phone. So, it's the technology hasn't changed a lot from when they first came out. The Where I Goes, the language on them, the coding, but it still works.
Well, isn't the bear usually found over in the Google data center, though?
Well, you know what? He's going to be found in my neck of the woods soon.
He is somewhat grizzly.
Yeah, it's most of the Play Anywheres that I've seen are designed for like the events and things like that, so that you can do them before you even get there and don't have to have anything when you get on site and deal with any of those issues. And they're almost always like quizzes of some type. Pick one of these answers, and if you get the right one, you get to move on. So, a lot of fun, and I do recommend doing those if you see them, because they're usually pretty easy, and sometimes they're pretty fun.
The one we did, you actually had to go into an open field. They gave you a size the field needed to be, and then launch it. And then it was kind of like an invisible maze, but you had to sort of track down a grizzly bear by sort of working your way through the field.
Yeah, that would take a lot more work, and you can't do it from bed.
Yeah.
Unless you have a really big bed.
There are things I don't want to know, Daryl.
All right, Gary, save us.
Yes, okay. Cashley mentioned, I think it was today or yesterday. I saw this come through, but
I saw it today.
Today, okay. Offline tile provider being shut down. Cashley uses MapQuest tiles when downloading offline maps. We just got the word that they'll be shutting this service down on July 11th. They are moving to a paid model, but we still do not know the specifics of pricing for the kind of download numbers that Cachly will require. And then the quote from Nick was, "We will work with MapQuest to see if their new paid model will work for Cachly. If not, we'll move to another OpenStreetMap tile provider. But we would no longer be able to provide satellite maps, only OpenStreetMaps. We will submit an update before July 11th to address this issue." And then he says Cachly will be coming out with OpenStreet Vector offline maps very soon. This will allow users to download full countries and states for offline use in a very small file size. This is something we talked about last night at the event. Was people are not happy with the sizes of the maps for offline. This will become the new standard for offline maps in Cachly, since we will control the data and not a tile map provider.
Well, and this is kind of what I was talking about that I want to try on the new unit, although that might have been before the show, actually. I've got the OpenStreetMaps from one of the providers loaded on my 30, and it works so much better than the Topo Maps or even the City Navigator stuff that I had tried. It's much more robust. So everyone seems to be jumping on these OpenStreetMap options now because it is a really good map, and it's pretty well optimized.
It was funny. I read this text out loud when it came in today, and Wits End was in the office with me, and he goes, "MapQuest, are they still in business?"
Yeah, it's kind of funny. They are still in business, and they're one of the providers for geocaching.com as well.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think it's the same thing, is that they're one of the few that provide the downloadable satellites, and that's what I really like to use. But as soon as they have the OpenStreetMap vector maps available, I'm downloading everything for the U.S. and Canada.
Now, so the for LandMonkey, is offline maps important as far as because of data use, or is that not really a factor?
It's huge, absolutely huge.
I thought it was. So
if we do a lot of caching because we live so close to the border, we do a lot of caching in the U.S. and it's just price prohibitive for us to use U.S. cellular unless we eventually buy a phone that has dual SIM and go that route. But right now, what we do is we just use all offline maps and of course use our GPSR as well. But if we ever do use the phone, we always have it loaded up with offline maps. And when we went to Cuba, there was really no other options.
Oh, that's true.
You're not allowed to bring a GPSR into Cuba, but you are allowed to bring a smartphone.
With GPS functionality. Shh! Don't tell them we can do that.
You just did.
Oh.
I think they've had that figured out for a while. They're okay with it.
Oh, Castro does watch this show. We're blown.
We are.
Sorry about that. Hey. Well, go ahead.
I'll just say real fast about Cachly. Nick's doing a lot. One of the discussions was, somebody was not happy with Cachly, and not to push Cachly tonight, but just the fact that he's being very responsive to changes. So I think that something like this, I think he'll work out and make it the best he can for the app.
Mm-hmm.
The change I'd like to see in Cachly is to make it on Android.
Oh yeah.
Hold your breath.
Yeah, that's not going to be happening anytime soon.
Yep.
We did ask him, though, for you.
Thank you. Until then, it's CGO for me.
Nice.
And sometimes geocachinger.
The geocachinger, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just downloaded Cachly a couple of weeks ago. First time out, it was perfect. I actually imported a GPX file into it. First time off, no looking ahead, and it all worked out. So I'm impressed with Cachly. It's become my go-to app.
Yep, me too.
Enough about Cachly. Let's go on to Jersey Eric. Jersey Eric says some woman, we don't know what woman, some woman in central Jersey, whom I don't know, just periscoped her hunt for one of my easy caches, then posted the periscope link to an online log. And we have the GC code that's GC6 Hotel Mike Romeo Alpha.
Oh, very good.
Thank you. I cheated. And there's a Periscope link here. Daryl, you'll have that in the show notes.
Oh, absolutely. But I should say that I didn't actually watch it because it's over an hour long.
Oh, holy cow! The Periscope is over an hour long.
Yes.
Who does an hour-long Periscope?
Her
On
apparently.
an easy
free
cache.
data.
Well, she did more than the one cache, I think.
Oh.
Oh my gosh. No.
So he goes on to say, I don't mind, and I'm not going to tell her to remove it, but she has some gumption. We'll put it that way. Okay?
Lots of gumption.
Yeah. Brass gumption, actually.
Yes.
Actually, it was interesting for me as a hider to see what a finder goes through, especially when several viewers thought they found the container when it was actually a PVC piping under the boardwalk. Well, there you just gave it away now, Jersey.
Well,
Oh, wait,
yeah.
maybe
so
it wasn't the container. Maybe it was actually PVC piping.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I was going to say, first off, PVC pipe under a public boardwalk in a high traffic area may result in an unfortunate police situation.
Yes, exactly.
But I'm like you. I think what Jersey Eric was saying is that wasn't the cache. But on the topic of spoiling a cache by a Periscope, I'll tell you, I'm not going to watch an hour-long anything on Periscope, like Gary was saying. It's just not going to happen. In order to find a geocache, or for really any reason, unless it was like to save the life of one of my family members.
I would watch that.
Yeah, so that wouldn't be a spoiler for me. Although I guess you could just you hold the screen and you can skip to the end of the Periscope. But that said, I still think it's one thing to give away a cache hide on Periscope if you're not saying which cache it is and you're only describing the general area and just showing the experience. But I wouldn't post the link to it in your log. That does take some moxie. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think they were actually talking, or Jersey Eric was actually talking about the way that she was caching in that. But again, I didn't watch the whole thing, and that's kind of, I think, the key there is there's no way you're going to watch an hour-long video if you're looking for a spoiler.
Oh, exactly. Of what he claims is an easy cache.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no. I did a Periscope today, but I didn't mention the GC code. I didn't really say where I mean, somewhere in Denver, but
that narrows it down. And we just find it and figure out.
Yeah, because there's only about a dozen caches in Denver.
Oh my gosh, there's
actually isn't it 14 caches?
Right. There are oodles. If that's, I don't know how many are in an oodle, but there's a lot.
It's a noodleplex.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot. We did 12 today because we're trying to get our numbers to kind of match up with the mega event and
trying to get up to 14.
Yeah, trying to get to 1,400. No, we're just trying to get
14
to
14 caches.
14 caches. We did 12, but we're trying to get we're trying to get that number anyway.
Gotcha. An even
and
number
there's
of
just like,
event.
You could throw a stick. Well, you can't quite throw a stick 520 feet, but there's a cache about every 520 feet. So
any direction you throw a stick, there's a cache in that direction.
Any direction, there's a cache.
So you could do a 360-degree challenge right from your hotel.
You could. You really could. I mean, it's just oodles. We're not used to that in Greenville, Texas. There's like,
there's like you hiding the caches.
Yeah, there's 100. I own all 100, so. Oh boy. So
welcome to the big city.
I tell you, it's fun. It is. It's great. There's caches everywhere. It gets kind of overwhelming, but it's fun. Yep.
So if you happen to be watching that video, that hour-long Periscope, the reason the beach has red flags is due to heavy riptides. I didn't know this. He says, is Ashbury Park Beach too cautious? Well, some 30 miles south, a 24-year-old woman was on an unguarded beach and died due to riptides on the day before this video was shot. Mm. And yes, we in New Jersey would prefer free beaches, almost all of which are municipal beaches. But since our property taxes are among the highest in the nation, the rant's not over yet, we don't want taxes to increase to pay for expenses incurred by free beaches. So,
yeah, I can certainly see that, but I like free parks, and free parks that allow geocaches.
In Monopoly, I like free parking.
Yeah. White Coaster says that there's lots of Munsies there as well, which I'm assuming he means Denver and not.
There are. There's a Munsie on every light pole. I must have found 30 Munsies today. It was just like...
And then you just gave up from exhaustion.
I did. I came back here to be on the show. But one thing I do want to mention, if people maybe aren't familiar, but riptides are very dangerous. If you ever see a sign for one, or there's this, you need to really keep track of when they do change the flags to show that. Riptides, and people don't realize, because it looks safe, but you get out there and it will pull you out, and you cannot. I mean, you're supposed to swim sideways, and people don't know that, so they try to swim back to the beach and they never make it. So be careful with riptides out there, folks.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got the next one.
You do.
Google. I do, because I put my initials on that one. I really wanted to talk about this one. Google Maps blog kicks off your summer travels with those new Google Maps features. Get multi-stop directions in Google Maps on Android. Monkey. Coming soon to iOS. Oh, how about that? I feel a little like...
It's because it's Google.
Okay. Just open the app, enter a destination, tap the corner menu, and then click Add a Stop. To rearrange the order of your stops, tap and hold the three-dot menu, which we've all seen three-dot menus, to the left of Add a Stop, or Add Stop. Drag it to the position you want. You can even search for types of places like gas stations or restaurants, maybe some of those good places up in British Columbia with the donuts, maybe.
Timmy's.
Do that. Yes, like you normally. Once you've added all your stops, tap Done, and your multi-stop route is complete. Google Maps uses with location history enabled, can open your timeline, select a date from their recent vacation or everyday life, and add notes to help remember what they did that day or save important notes for later. Now, I wonder if you could tie this in and leave yourself sort of little rabbit trail or breadcrumbs of where you've been geocaching?
Well, I think you can do it by like the photos, but it's not going to give you like a track.
Oh, okay.
So that's
I have to play with this. I saw that it downloaded and installed onto my phone. I just haven't opened it up yet to play with it, but I'm gonna have to play with it. It sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, that's one of the big reasons why I use some of the paid apps still for navigation. Is it really is nice to have that multi-destination thing when you're planning out long caching routes. So this is going to be something I think that is really going to come in handy. The question is, can we save and edit those routes maybe on the website from the computer and transfer it, or even just on the phone? Because that's where I really use this, is when I have, like, I need to go to these key caches, route me to those so that I can keep an eye on it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because you do, I've done this type of thing on my computer with Google Maps, where you can kind of create your own map, and you can kind of make your routes, and you can save it as your own little personal version. So I'm assuming that that's probably very similar to what you can do.
I would hope that they're going to do the saving and editing, because if not, then it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, because how many people are going to go and set up like 4-stop trips while they're on their phone, getting ready to drive? I can see some people doing it, but I just don't think it's going to be that useful.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
On to the last story before we have to take off and let Gary get to his event. GPS World shared the story that the GLONASS system has launched the 53rd satellite to replenish the constellation. And this was back on May 29th as Soyuz 2.1B launched the number 53 satellites successfully from the Plastic. I'm not pronouncing that right, I guarantee it.
It's a plastic space center. It's like
it's plastic. I'm thinking it's plastic.
Shouldn't they use steel or something more solid than
Well,
plastic?
I'm thinking they needed something that was going to have the right resonance.
It's a 3D printed rocket.
They're trying to cut down the cost. But the satellite was placed through its pre-programmed orbit to replace some of the satellites that have been giving them problems. So this is just one of those continuous upgrades like we've been talking about with the GPS system. and just another one of the GLONASS systems. So hopefully this will mean we have better accuracy when we deal with caching, especially on these new units that support GLONASS. And almost all of the phones these days have the GLONASS support as well.
Mm-hmm.
Does it mean? It doesn't mean better resolution, right? It's just talking about better.
Well, it's replacing one of the satellites that has failed.
Time to retire. Okay.
Yeah.
These aren't okay.
So it's going to mean more accurate locations because it's replaced a failing unit, but it's not necessarily higher resolution. And it sounds like this is essentially just an updated version of the same unit, not like the next generation GPS satellite that we've been talking about, which is supposed to give us improved accuracy.
Gotcha.
All right, so that's going to do it for this show. We have a bunch of stuff we have to push to another show, which is going to be almost exactly a month from now. So we'll save that stuff for then because all that stuff is going to hang out. But we have even more stuff that we've already designated for the patron show. So please, if you're a patron, join us back here or check the Patreon site for that later. And we have a whole pile of really awesome shows coming up in the next 4 weeks that you'll want to tune in for. Next week, episode 236 is going to be Lullaby for You. She has some really amazing caches that she's placed with help of some of her friends, and we'll talk about how she builds those. She's even sent us schematics and PDFs that we can offer up as downloads. So
nice.
Really, really cool caches. You guys definitely want to check these out. Then on the 14th, we're talking with Rock Chalk again about the geocaching.com guidelines, and I'm sure this one is going to be mostly about the challenge caches. And I want to give them a list of some challenge cache types and get some answers as to which ones are permitted and which ones aren't. Then on the 21st...
Sorry, Jay, I was going to say you play a game. Is it a cache?
Is it a cache? Or is it banned? Approved or denied? There we go. So on the 21st, we're going to be back with the GPS versus smartphone show. So we've got Land Monkey arguing on behalf of the GPSRs, and Scott Burks is going to be on to talk about the smartphones.
Wow.
He's not here to defend himself today, so...
I don't miss any of them, but I will not miss that one.
That I'm expecting that one to be very entertaining, if not informative. But I expect it to be both.
Well, we're both such quiet guys. I don't know. You're really going to have to draw us out.
Yeah.
That'll be a fun one.
It'll be like pulling teeth, I'm sure. The 28th, though, I just mentioned, is our next randomized show. That one's going to have the 4 or 5 topics that we didn't get to this time, and a whole lot more. So make sure to join us for that show because it's going to be really, really good stuff, I'm sure. And I'll probably have my first chance to really talk about the Oregon 700.
It'll be a really big show. Hey, until then, check out the Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes from this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads at cachemaniacs.com or through the many channels of social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniacs shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniacs shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. The show's copyright 2016 by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.
Cash with the Cachemaniacs.